Tomáš Müller is now about to give you the overview of UniTime, which is a comprehensive solution for scheduling classrooms and exams. Over to you, Tomáš.
Hello, I hope you can see me and my screen with the presentation. Can you hear me and see me and everything?
Yeah, everything's perfect. Thanks, Tomáš.
Okay, good. So I have a lot of presents, so I get started. So this will be a presentation about the scheduling system UniTime. We will start with a short introduction of the system, followed by a few words about the current version of UniTime and our users base. And actually, do you see the presentation with the pictures on the right side, or can we just move them some? Okay, I hope it shows the presentation now.
We can see the presentation,
yes. And I will also show a couple new features that have been recently added into UniTime. So let me start with just a single slide that tries to explain what all this is about. So with UniTime, we try to solve a number of hard optimization problems of assigning classes, exams, or students to times, rooms, classes, and so on. There are many constraints that must be followed, like that there should not be any conflicts for rooms or instructors. There are also many objectives we want to optimize, like faculty time or room preferences or minimization of possible student conflicts. All this is needed for various reasons. Among the most important is that we need for the students to be able to get the courses that they need and to be able to graduate in time. We may also need to use space or other resources more effectively. It also helps to make the process much easier to manage, and it could be more fair to all the interested parties, or it can help with various simulations. Using a tool like this may also help the university to better cope with any changes, including the recent COVID pandemic. So what's UniTime? Well, we call it a comprehensive academic scheduling solutions, meaning that our aim is to provide a tool for all or most of the scheduling or timetable needs of a university or a higher institution of higher education. We have 5 components of UniTime right now, or there are 5 components within UniTime right now, and an institution can use just 1 or 2 or all of them. So first of all, our course timetabling helps to build a schedule of classes, assigning individual sections to both times and rooms. It can consider various preferences and requirements on both time and room, availabilities of instructors, structure of courses, and so on. There is a solver that can be used to compute a timetable automatically, or that can help the user to provide valuable suggestions when the user is making manual changes, and it can just make sure that there are no time conflicts for the rooms, instructors, or students. The next component I will be talking about is the examination timetabling, which is used to build an examination schedule. It assigns exams to examination periods and rooms. Besides of considering the various preferences on rooms and periods, various relations between individual exams that we call distribution constraints, it minimizes the number of student direct conflicts, back-to-backs they have, or the cases where the student has more than 2 exams on a day. Exams can be split into multiple rooms or can share rooms, larger rooms as needed. One of the most important components is the student scheduling module. It takes the course demands of students and can be used to register students to individual classes. Students can provide courses they need together with alternatives and free time requests, section preferences. The system gives them a class schedule that best fits their needs. The class schedules can be either computed automatically for all students that did some form of pre-registration, or it can be used in an online form where the student gets the schedule immediately. The online mode can be also used by the students to make schedule adjustments once their initial class schedule is computed. The solver considers many constraints, including course structure that defines how the student can get enrolled into a course. There could be reservations. We can balance the remaining space in available sections. We can ensure some level of student schedule quality across all the students, like time for lunch, not too many gaps on the schedule, travel times, and so on. The last component that is using a constraint-based optimization solver is the instructor scheduling module. This is usually used for assigning teaching assistants to classes that they are going to teach, considering their teaching load, qualifications, skills, availabilities, and preferences. It can also make sure that a TA does not get to teach a class at the time when he or she has a class schedule, or that all assignments for a single TA are of the same course. Or for instance, if there is a large enough course that it can assure that all the labs that the TA teach are associated with the same lecture or the same professor. Finally, we also have an event management tool. It is used to book additional events in university rooms, and it also provides room availability for the other timetabling components, timetabling problems. It is also used to display a schedule of class for a student, for an instructor, or for a room that contains all the classes, exams, and it could also have course-related events that the instructors can set up, like help sessions and stuff like that. The UniTime system is open source and is part of the Apereo Foundation since 2015. It is web-based, written in Java using modern technologies like Hibernate or Spring. The example here shows a possible UniTime deployment at a larger institution. Usually for smaller schools, there is just one Tomcat talking to a database. But if needed, there can be multiple web servers, and the optimization, if needed, can be also offloaded to a separate solver server or solver servers that can be better suited for these intensive in-memory computations. The UniTime project started as a research project, and we have published a number of papers over the years. Many of them are in peer-reviewed journals like the Journal of Scheduling or Annals of Operations Research. Last year, we have co-organized the international timetabling competition called ITCC 2019. It is for the researchers interested in the course timetabling research. We have published 3 sets of problem instances, 10 instances in each set. On our competition website, anyone who wants to be able to download these data instances must register, and we have way over 200 registrations from over 50 countries. So far, at least 12 solvers have been developed by these researchers, and some results have been validated and uploaded on our competition website from these. So we know about them because they have validated their solvers, their solutions against our website. We have 5 finalists, and we have not published the winners yet because we are going to have an award ceremony on the September 2nd. Finally, I would like to mention that UniTime is a very robust system with many user roles that can fit the needs of a small institution, but also quite large universities with multiple campuses. For example, when it comes to course timetable, both the data entry and the course timetabling can be distributed among individual departments or timetabling units. So for instance, each department can be responsible for its own timetable, while the system makes sure that any rooms that are being used across these departments or students or instructors are considered. Typically, for smaller schools, the data entry is distributed, but there is one central office, like for instance, the registrar, the office of the registrar, that is responsible for actually running the solver and producing the timetable. Because UniTime is available for download and use for free, we have only a limited knowledge about our users. There is about a dozen or 2 dozen of the users that we have worked with in the past or are working regularly, but from the rest, we may only get an occasional email questions or no message at all. However, we do have a voluntary registration in UniTime that the admin can fill in once the system is installed or at a later date. These registrations have been used to create this word cloud. It covers over 400 registrations from around the world. Also, out of these registrations, about 75 institutions has indicated that they use UniTime in production. During the past 12 months, we have got about 50 new registrations, a tenth of which has indicated that they use UniTime in production. I would like to also point out that we have had 10 institutions that provided us with their course timetabling data for the international timetabling competition. All these have been using UniTime in production for quite some time now, and I have had their university logos shown on the previous slide when I was talking about the competition. We do have a major release of UniTime every year. We are currently on UniTime 4.4. There are also minor releases that are done more frequently, typically every other month or so. From the next UniTime version that is going to be released later this year, I would like to point out two new features. The first one is related to pre-registration and the ability for the advisors to record their recommendations on what courses a student can take within UniTime when they are meeting with the student. And the second one are a few improvements related to making massive changes to course timetable or student class schedules. A lot of that has been created due to the recent pandemic, as many institutions need to be able to de-densify their rooms in order to comply with various social distancing rules. So for the advisor recommendations, the page looks like this. An advisor opens the page, looks up the student that he or she is meeting, and can see if there are any pre-registration that there are already exists for the student. So for example, if in the example I have from the slide, it looks like the student is already in computer science learning community. So he's going to get these 3 CS courses together, and they'll follow the same sections as other students in his group. The advisor can fill in the course recommendations, which can also contain alternative section preferences and free times. It is possible to look up a course from our course catalog, and the credits automatically get populated. The advisor can also put additional notes. Once done, the form is submitted and a PDF report gets generated. It can be either emailed to the student, or if desired, it can be printed out and signed by both the advisor and the student. So after a student meets with his or her advisor, he or she opens the course request form, which is used to fill in the pre-registrations. It lists all the courses they want to take. They can, if there are advisor recommendations, it gets pre-populated with these advisor recommendations, and the student can make changes to them before submitting the pre-registration. If there are any registration errors like a departmental permission is needed, or a student does not meet all the prerequisite, the student can automatically request an override from this page. Such override requests get routed back to the advisor or someone else that can approve the override. As the students fill in their pre-registration, we can start running the student scheduling test runs. These can be very useful to detect any issues early, like when there is not enough space in a particular course, or when students are requesting course combinations that do overlap in time. The screenshot here shows an example with our written communication courses that are often too high on demand. We can also use student plans, degree plans of study to identify critical courses that is courses that are needed for the student in order to be able to make progress towards their degree. Students where such a course is identified as critical can then have a higher priority in getting the course. So if there are more students, then there is space in the course. We can make sure that the students that do really need them to be able to make progress will get it before the others. The advisor course recommendations can be also used when the scheduling is done and each student gets a schedule, or when there are students that do not use pre-registration and going straight from the advising to getting a schedule. The student scheduling assistant page that we use for these can also get automatically pre-populated with the courses that the advisor has recommended for the student. These advisor course recommendations feature has been already implemented at Purdue University starting this fall 2020 registration. While we are not done with the registration yet, the recommendations have been already filled in for close to 10,000 students at our university. Here is an example how the new rescheduling capabilities are being used at Purdue University. This is for the fall 2020 semester. Due to the COVID pandemic, all our spring classes and most of our summer classes have been delivered online. However, we are planning to resume in-person classes this fall with many safety precautions, of course. The biggest problem is that we already have a fall schedule which has been built before the pandemic, and most of the continuing students already have registered and have a class schedule. So we are heavily relying on UniTime here to be able to modify the schedule of classes. Some classes will be taught online. For example, all the large lectures that are over 150 students. This will free up some space to allow smaller lectures to get a larger room. Some of the classes can also have an alternated attendance, meaning that, for instance, students attend the lecture in person every other week. Some classes, especially labs where we do not have a large enough special room, will need to add sections, and we will need to spread the students among the existing and the new sections. So from the UniTime perspective, all the rooms will get their capacities updated to meet the new social distancing guidelines. Many courses will have new sections added, room requirements may be modified, and we will be using the course timetabling solver to move classes between rooms while they'll keep their existing times. We will also use the student scheduling solver to rebatch the continuing students, where we will make sure that all these students will keep their existing courses that they are already enrolled in, and we will try to also keep their sections, the existing schedules as much as possible. The current plan is to have all the schedules updated by mid-July, which should give our students about a month to be able to see their class schedules and make adjustments during the open registration. So that's for the presentation. Before we get to the questions, I would like to know that we will also have a presentation later this week on Wednesday, and we will be talking more about using UniTime to make schedule changes, as well as to run various simulations and what-if scenarios. So are there any questions? I don't know how I get to the chat here.
Thanks, Thomas. That was a very comprehensive overview in what I know is a highly compressed amount of time.
Yeah, I've tried to cover all the functionality.
Covered a lot. You covered a lot. We do have 2 or 3 minutes for questions. If anybody has a specific question for Tomáš now, please post it either in Twitter or in the chat. I think you've given people a huge amount to think about. Thanks very much. And as I've said, the recording is going to be made available after the event. We have a short break coming up, and then at 10:40 Eastern, we're on to our keynote presentation. So thanks again, Tomáš. No questions coming. I think people probably need to stretch their legs. See you in 10 minutes, folks.